to get it done.
Oh, no, it'll get done.
I don't get over here enough to meet you. All right, so, meeting will come to order. Motion to accept the minutes.
Haven't been submitted yet.
I thought you did. I saw them.
Did you? You sure? For the January 24th meeting?
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, no minutes. Oh my God. Anyway, all right, let's move on to the budget. Melissa, you want a couple of things? Barbara's given us this overview thing here. What part of this, can you show it to Melissa? Tell me what we also need to do for you. I mean, we have such a small budget, I don't know what you need.
I just did the mission and that. I did not do any of this. Because if you want to add to that, then.
So I can really tell you that this will be part of the published budget, so if you want to be brief, in comparison to other departments, that's how it will look.
I think we're different than the other departments in that we are the legislative body, so what do you guys think? Should we put them down there? I think the mission statement is enough, but, and I like the organizational review. We'll talk about numbers in a minute, but,
Yeah, I mean, if you want to put the goals and objectives for what this money's for, it's very clear. You want to put the goals and objectives of the whole council,
The whole-
that's kind of hard to do.
that's going to be a wait and see. Those things we wouldn't want.
So if you always want to write something all.
To pass all financial matters in a timely manner. How's that?
You send me something and I'll plug it in, but
Well,
I'm gonna
I need
let-
help here. I don't know
I'm
what to
gonna let you
What do we want to
guys
put in?
just tell me what you'd like in there, because.
Well,
I
as
have
Melissa
enough
said,
of-
this is being published, so I'm not sure we need to do this because it doesn't relate to us as it does to an individual department. Right. What do you think, Chick? Should we put something there? Huh?
I think we're good.
Okay. All right. Let's look at the dollars. Salaries, it's up because last year we only had half a year, so that's why it's a full.
4,000 times 9.
Mhm.
If you look at the last page, that one's really the easy one to look at.
Well, I look at how you broke down office supplies. Is that enough? What if all the counselors left at
Well,
once?
Let me just, let's do one at a time here. So on the
Alright.
personal services, you guys are all set.
Mhm.
And on me, I did it for 2 meetings a month, because sometimes there's extra meetings.
Okay.
So that's what that is.
But if we don't have that's 2 meetings a month for 12 months.
Yeah, and if it doesn't get used,
We
it
don't,
doesn't get
does it
used.
get used? Okay, good.
Advertising, legal ads, I know the prices have gone up.
And this is based on how you've seen legal ads going year by year?
There, you know, you guys, rentals, the borrowing, if we do a borrowing, it's gonna be
Big one.
a big long thing.
Okay. Well, if you think it's enough, you're the one who's,
I mean, we didn't, this year's budget does not have 2,000. It was cut. I mean, I think you should ask for it.
what about food service supplies?
Okay, so at postage, you have some money left in the postage machine, so unless you wanna do your big, long, big, huge mailing, I think you have enough for the year. General office supplies, I wasn't gonna put anything in there until somebody decided that maybe they were gonna run for office. Because if we have to get a new nameplate and give somebody a thank you plaque, we better have some money in there. So otherwise, this is kind of an off year. So I did. Sorry. So I said we better put.
I'm not allocating any money for thank you plaques, if that's what you're talking about.
But at least for the name. I said, I'm gonna put this in there and you tell me what you wanna do. Food service, the only time we need that is when there's a swearing in ceremony.
So it's every other
And we
year.
don't have any this year. Travel, it's your budget, you tell me what you want here. I don't.
I think the small
I go,
increase
Sonny.
in general office supplies, just to cover any items that may come up, is appropriate.
Just
Put
if
in
if you put in whatever you
A
need.
couple $100 on that item, that should cover us.
Well, we have 80.
I mean, if it doesn't get used, it gets turned back.
Can I help you, sir?
You're looking at. Oh, this is
Desperately, we need you for a minute.
I won't get to yours for a bit.
This is old.
Well, in terms of in-state travel, we always had some in-state travel for staff. I know the departments have in-state travel, and it's appropriate for training, to attend the MMA convention, to meet with various other groups in the state.
We haven't had it
Makes
for a
sense.
few years, though.
Yeah.
I think in the past, it's been like a very small token, like $100,
Yes.
which, you know, you've used.
I think if we set aside somewhere around $500 for that, I think we can get some new counselors in. I think we can have some money that makes sense for in-state travel. Right now, there's absolutely, if a counselor goes to Worcester for a conference, or goes to Boston, or meets somewhere in the state, there's no reimbursement for that person, and no mechanism to reimburse. So I think it's
So that was
it's
one-
almost unconscionable not to have availability of training and the ability to interact with other groups that are doing similar things.
If it does get put in there, though, we will have the process in place of asking for it before it's used.
Absolutely. Whatever is
What
the
do you mean?
standard.
If you're gonna go to MMA, you have to tell them
You don't give the
beforehand.
bill and
Right.
afterwards, you put in
You
the
go in,
request ahead
It's
of.
fine.
Put in your request ahead of time. The normal process would be to go to Joe,
It has to go through the department head, which is the
through the
president.
department head, which is the president, and then it's approved. So,
Well, then you
Or not
do the
approved.
purchase order and the
and
travel.
then the PO and the travel, right, and then
Then you
appropriate,
go-
appropriate
and then
documentation.
Afterwards.
So that would be my recommendation.
What do you think?
I'm just glad to leave it on. I mean, we took it out a couple of years ago. It was only $100. It wasn't enough to cover everybody to do things. I know that.
Wasn't enough to cover anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Several of the new counselors have already gone to some of these trainings. Our stipend this year went up $1,000. I think if you need to drive to Worcester, you need to drive to Worcester. I don't think.
I have to agree with him, JP, because I think the stipend going up, that's an increase that we just did. And we're not full-time employees or department heads that are working full-time on a,
Just,
I don't disagree with the idea, but I think given the part-time nature plus the extra money, I don't think I want to put that in there.
I can appreciate that. It just leaves a situation where anyone who runs for city council has to have the resources to donate the time and be able to reimburse for any.
Well, they're not
for any- for
donating
any
the time,
training.
they're getting $4,000 a year.
They are getting $4,000, right, but they have to be able to spend the hours they get put in, or it just makes sense. So that'd be my.
Well, I would take a poll of the counselors and see who would want that. We could amend this at the council meeting, but
And
right
I
now, I
haven't
don't
heard-
recommend it. I can't put it in now myself, and I don't think
I haven't
David.
heard from anybody
That's
that
fine.
they're missing this or not doing things because it's not there. I don't know if you have. But, and
I think JP does go.
I know as a
And-
member of the state MMA's fiscal committee, there's meetings every month. So we're going into Boston, not every month, but whatever ones we can attend.
Okay.
And it gives the counselors the flexibility and the ability to interact on a state level with other people doing the same thing in other cities. So that kind of interaction, I think, is appropriate, and we ought to reimburse for that. If there's
Well, let me-
no feeling amongst the committee for that, then
Let me offer this.
let's leave it the way it is.
Let me offer this. We'll pass this as it's proposed.
Mhm.
I mean, we'll recommend it, and then we'll open next week. Next meeting, we'll open it up and we'll say, does anybody feel they'd like
And that's fine.
in-state travel?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And let you present your arguments, because
Well, I'm not tied to the, you know, it's just, I think.
I don't think it's necessary. I'll say the same things that we decided not to because of the stipend.
Sure.
Okay?
Okay, yeah, so I was thinking.
I'm good with that.
All right, so motion to approve the budget as submitted.
So moved.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Barbara, we're not gonna write anything else on here, apparently.
Okay. If you change your mind,
Okay,
just let me know.
all right.
This is not in the agenda packet, obviously.
Where's Dave? He's on the phone. How are you, Rosalie? Yeah? You having fun today? It's my granddaughter Rosalie, guys.
Hello, welcome.
Vice Mayor,
Vice Mayor today.
did you get to do anything? To sign any papers?
Not that, yeah, no, we're not signing papers right now. Where did we just come from?
The police station.
Police station?
Yeah. And I got a
These
bag.
up so you don't get
Bag.
confused. Oh, so this-
Well, Barry's here first, so Barry gets to go before Dave. That sounded like an urgent matter. You all set, Barry?
Yeah.
All right.
So we're gonna do the 10,000 supplemental appropriation for Barry? Computer equipment, you wanna present this, Barry, what's going on?
Yes, so we're requesting $10,000 to replace the phone system in this building, not the top floor, this floor and downstairs, and also the council on aging. It'll cover the cost of the setup, the training, new equipment, 40 phones, and we need 4 24-port power over Ethernet switches. They cost a little more. That's what'll power the phones, and 12 8-port power over Ethernet switches.
Is this like digital versus analog systems?
It's digital, yeah.
But what do we have now? We have an analog
Right,
system?
right.
Okay.
Yes, it's voice over internet protocol.
10,000 seems low to me. I don't know, the way electronics cost.
We thought it was a great price, yeah.
Who's the vendor?
Valley Communications.
Valley,
Yeah.
okay.
We'll have, the new system will have voicemail, caller ID.
You got voicemail.
The system will actually have paging.
You don't have voicemail now?
Hmm? Yeah, we
We have a lot of answering machines.
per line. You pay
Oh, yeah,
extra
the
per
answering
line.
machines. I see. So the system will have its own voicemail.
Yeah, and caller ID, paging system. And one of the best parts is we can keep our phone numbers. Because in the past, we'd looked for, we were gonna have a menu driven, which isn't always a good idea, a lot of departments. But we'll be able to keep our numbers.
Are you able to conference call easier?
Yes.
If like 3 or 4 department heads had to talk at once?
Yes. And after the initial cost, it's actually going to be less than what we pay now for the system and on a maintenance cost.
So we have a maintenance budget right now?
No,
budget line?
no, it's just per line.
So what's the,
There's a lot of
what-
lines.
what's the difference between the new projected cost and the former?
Oh, probably
Projected cost,
at least,
if we-
at least $5,000 to $6,000 less.
You're saying this is the cost of maintaining the system?
No, this is the initial cost. It's around $7,000, and we're now paying around $14,000. So it's gonna cut it in half.
Can we do it tomorrow?
And
I'm not understanding.
There goes the phone call.
The $10,000 is for the setup, the training, and the new equipment.
Okay.
And then once we move forward with the maintenance of it, it's about $7,000 per year. And we're currently paying for all of these individual lines, about
So the $7,000 we're paying the vendor to,
No, we're
Providing
paying it, we're
equipment.
paying for the event.
it's a lease?
no, we'll own.
We own the equipment.
We'll own the
So I just don't understand what the $7,000 is for.
Well, that's maintenance after.
Something breaks.
No.
No,
it's
just
to
for
pay
the system,
phone.
for the system.
Like our phone bill. It's
Oh,
gonna
the
be higher.
phone bill?
Yeah,
Phone
I'm
bill
calling it.
I thought that was separate, like through AT&T or
Well,
something.
it is right now, and that's why it's so expensive.
And it
but
won't be.
because of this system.
Oh, I didn't understand that at all. Okay, now I do.
Yeah, that's
And,
where we save the.
It'll pay for itself within a couple of years.
So right now, our vendor is AT&T or something?
Verizon.
Verizon,
Verizon?
Who's
And
the new one? I
7,000?
said it, but-
Valley Communications in Springfield.
Valleycom does the connecting to the system so that you can call anybody.
Mhm.
Wow, I didn't know they did that. Wow.
Are there any features that the new system will provide that the old system doesn't do?
You just
Well,
listed
caller
them.
ID.
Caller ID.
And voicemail was an
But we,
per
we have
number.
but we have answering per number. voice.
But we pay extra for that. That's
Right,
not,
right.
so.
Well, I guess my point, the reason I'm asking is if, has anyone gone back to AT&T, to Verizon and said, hey, guys, guess what?
No.
we're gonna, you know, anything you can do on your price, if you cut it back to half or quarter.
You didn't have to bid that?
Otherwise, we're ready to jump onto a
Well, this
contract,
is-
because this is what they're offering us, it looks real good.
Well, we feel this is superior anyways, just.
That was my point, in what ways is it really good?
May I?
Sure.
So in the collector's office, we have answering machines. So when it's busy, like it was today, and people call, they get a busy signal. It's very upsetting when people are already usually not happy when they're calling us.
The
So that-
text.
And
So-
we pay voicemail per number, and everybody doesn't have it,
So
because it's an extra
that,
charge.
that feature alone, that you can leave a message and not have to call back 5 or 6 times to reach us, I think it is 10 times better than what we have now. And then the caller ID, like we know, you know, who's calling in. Is that Dave, or is it an outside call? You know, who are we talking to? Or is that call I've been waiting for? Is
Paying
that
$14,000 and we don't have caller ID?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So I guess what JP was getting at is, you didn't go out and try to get quotes from different vendors?
No.
No, I
You were
was
very
talking
happy
about
with the-
negotiating with the current provider.
Well, right, but I mean,
Right.
that, to me, would be getting in a bidding
Right.
situation.
Well, Except it sounds like everyone's looking for some different features and qualities that also are
I
part of
mean,
the package.
Verizon's can offer that, but that would make our $14,000 bill probably $20,000, so, you
Plus,
know.
plus they're on the state bid, so once they're on the state bid,
Who's on the state ballot?
valid communications, they're on the state bid, so they probably can't, that's the price usually. Can't usually undercut that.
Right. I wasn't thinking of undercutting Valley's prices, I was thinking if Verizon might just cut their bill significantly and give you everything you ever wanted in order to keep some service as they lose service all
Well,
over the place.
Someone from Normandale had told me,
Normandale
actually,
Communications, yeah.
Normandale, the owner,
Yeah.
that they're getting rid, that Verizon wants to get rid of these Centrix lines. They're really, it's old technology.
And then-
I haven't gotten anything from them that said this is a date they're gonna do it.
I'm sold.
I don't have a problem moving forward, because I mean, I think it offers enough advantages.
And
If
they-
it didn't offer any advantages, I'd recommend you go back to Verizon.
And like the cost,
Strongly.
like say, the cost
But
is, pays for itself in 2 years.
That is huge, yes.
And there's a lot of phones here that individual.
Well, you're also gonna do
departments-
the senior center too, right?
Yes.
But not the second floor down?
No, because they put in.
They put in their own system?
A small little system. But another thing too is, in the future, they can get on this. They can just get into this and so can
Do
this.
they have the same features if I wanted to call somebody, they have
I'm
voicemail?
not sure what they have. Probably.
Well, yeah, they do, so, but when you call there, you call a main number, and then you have to dial an extension.
Right.
Which meant that they all had to change numbers,
Yeah,
and
it's a
since
main-
the
main-
technology had, what Barry explained to me is that the technology had changed, they thought that we were gonna do something similar to that, and then when they looked at it, there was this option to keep all the same phone numbers, not try and tell people to learn different numbers, and get all these extra things, so it was like.
So they may be interested.
Well, they've just invested, I think, recently.
Yeah,
in
so
this
they don't
it's
system.
somewhat new system.
All right.
So
But in the
when-
future, they can, and so can the safety complex. How old is that, maybe 8 years?
The phone system in there is, yeah, about 8 years, because we had to replace it right after I became chief.
So that's always an option, that you can get onto this, same thing.
I'm sorry, I didn't, maybe you mentioned it, I didn't hear it, but the rec department is,
No, we need, the broadband has to be strong enough. That's why this is available, because the school, the technology in the school department put in a fiber link in October, which brought it up to 10 gigabyte per second, which is very strong broadband, and that's why we can do this. So they don't have the kind of line that would support that.
Mhm. So any
We're gonna have to keep
municipal
some of the
location
old
that
ones.
had the broadband technology
Right.
could hook up. Okay. I'm sorry.
I'm sold. Dan?
Yeah, sounds great.
Mary, you wanna add, you think? You're happy about saving 7,000 a year?
Yes, that works for me. And it builds, I mean, one, it's better customer service, but it's a system we can build on. It's great to go that way, and it would be nice broadband in Parks and Rec
Yeah.
and stuff like that, but let's take what we can get right now.
Does the vice mayor agree?
You gonna say yes? New phones? All right.
All right,
Leslie
well, we
likes
have
phones.
unanimous approval here. Okay. Second. All in favor?
All right.
Okay.
You're good now.
You're welcome. Can you, I think it was line 1. Line 2, I don't know. If you can't figure it out, it's all right.
Oh, no, I went downstairs.
Fire department overtime pay. We'll do it the 31,000 first. Chief? It's pretty self-explanatory, but if you want to go into it.
So just to give you some background on the overtime, because I know every year
Oh, to get in?
that becomes sometimes contentious. So in 2015, there was $294,000, almost $295,000 spent in fire department overtime.
Mhm.
In 2016, it was $280,000. 2017, it was just over $210,000. And this year, the budgeted amount is $188,700. In that same time span, it's been close to a 6% increase in firefighter pay. So not only have I reduced the amount spent on overtime, but clearly we've reduced the number of shifts of overtime, how much is paid out, because salaries have gone up close to 6%, and overtime has dropped significantly from 2015. A lot of that is.
The estimate of 188,700 for this year was low then, though?
That was level funded from last fiscal year. 188.7 was appropriated last fiscal year. It was around 211 was spent. The 188.7 was funded this year to balance the budget, knowing that it probably wouldn't be enough. 1 or 2 injuries are gonna kill it, and it always happens, 1 or 2 injuries, long-term injuries occur.
Injuries and stuff like that. Okay. And vehicle repairs, Mayor, just to, Mayor Cadger always felt, and we tended to agree that rather than put huge maintenance budgets in each department's line, like in there, you'd wait and see what they needed so that you could send it, is that your policy too, and that, and we did that, the fire department and DPW often have a lot of maintenance.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I mean, we should go forward that way, and I am fine with it. I'd like to have a further discussion or of other options of doing that, but it seems to work.
Well, for me, it worked because that meant that if one department had a huge maintenance account set up and they didn't need it, then another department suddenly had a lot of trucks go down, like the DPW versus the fire department, you'd have a problem. If it's just being used from reserve or from, in other words, raise the reserve account.
Okay.
Am I saying this right, Melissa?
Yeah,
That's what the
we-
policy
yeah,
was?
yeah, That's what we did, we raised the reserve account,
So that we could throw the money to maintenance in any
Right.
department.
right.
That way, you wouldn't have to do an interdepartment transfer. I kinda like that, so.
No, it's good. Okay.
The big hit on that this year was that line item is funded at $10,000. The ladder truck had a pretty serious mechanical breakdown in the fall. and
Didn't we
one
just buy
repair.
that?
No, that truck is now
It's been there a while.
10 years old.
Oh, okay.
So it was a $10,000 repair, which wiped out completely that line item before any other work or repairs.
Well,
were done.
that also, again, that line item was low anyway, so, okay.
What's the work that needs to be done on the engine now?
Right now, there's a minimum of $3,000 in repairs on both engines and the ladder that need to get done.
What are the repairs, just regular
Um,
maintenance, or?
They're replacing the valves that open and close to stop the water. So, I don't know if it's our water's hard or the calcium, but it chews the valves up like crazy. Those need to be rebuilt. There's gauges on the trucks that, over time, the liquid that's in there drains out, and they're not as accurate, and the gauges stick, which tells us how much pressure is coming in and going out. Becomes a huge safety issue. This is just the estimate I got from the contractor was $3,002, and this is just preventative maintenance, for lack of a better word, that needs to get done, but because the $10,000 went to the, repair the ladder, there's no money left in that line item. Luckily, knock on wood, there's no major repairs pending, it's just all minor safety items.
Chairman, so, it sounds like the repairs, what goes, or, I mean, maintenance somewhat can be predicted, but repairs, like the ladder truck goes, it might be a different expense. I mean, do we look back in time and just see an ebb and flow of not just fire, but of DPW as far as in a given year, what our maintenance or repair, what this line is, how much we go into reserves or raise it?
So, we did raise it, and we could, think about raising it again, it's always sort of a balancing act. I do know that part of an appropriation from last year was to buy a software for the highway garage, which is not so much helpful in fire department, because I don't think the trucks fit in there, but to have, instead of, a log of like, oh, this car needs an oil change, it's actually tracked, and they're gonna be able to print out, like, not only a history, but scheduled maintenance, and know who should be coming in and that kind of thing. And that was an investment that was done last year.
Okay.
So I don't know that we've seen the benefits
The
of that
benefit of it, sure.
yet, but I know that it's gone from their very paper process
Okay.
to this new technology.
Now, the fire department does your own maintenance. Does the DPW, I mean, you pay for it yourself.
Well, DPW does.
They do
the oil
in-house
changes
maintenance,
and light
right?
bulbs.
But they don't do major, like the trucks, they get
don't do
contractors?
Any of the work on the pumps or the hydraulics or any of that stuff.
They have to
just
get
change oil
contractors.
and light bulbs.
But you could track that through appropriation over the years, how much you
Our
use.
software tracks maintenance requests.
Right, I think that's what the mayor's asking.
Yeah, DPW has one. Our station management software has a maintenance tab in it
Okay.
that tracks all that.
Good.
Does it also do the predictions of
It does.
maintenance
It
needs?
doesn't have preventative maintenance projections. It has end of life and warnings, like the ground ladders that we have that we throw on the side of the houses. Those have to be inspected every year. So there's a maintenance reminder that comes up that this ladder, ground ladder number 2 on engine 1 is due for test this year. All of our breathing air bottles have a 3-year pressure test requirement and a 12-year lifespan. We have that, and it tracks, so it'll tell you, January 1st, I can run a report, and it'll tell me that in 2019, I'm gonna have 10 of my 30 bottles at the end of their life. And it'll say 2021.
And you could therefore,
But that's like the equipment on the vehicle, the apparatus, but not the actual vehicle itself. When the manufacturer, when you buy a fire truck, do they like give you software or a manual
No.
that says, hey, at so many years or so many thousand miles, you're gonna likely need this, you'll need this next year, and give you a list of kind of like what you can expect?
They give you maintenance suggestions, like for all the moving parts of the pumps, the hydraulics for the ladder truck, they give you a maintenance schedule, and it's all based on hours of operation. So every X number of hours, you should do an oil change in the engine. Every X number of hours, you should change the oil in the pump. Every X number of hours in the transmission. Every X number of hours, the entire ladder in the ladder truck needs to be greased. But that's, the ladder truck could go 6 months between maintenance is 1 year, and the next year it's a busy year, and 2 months in, we're dropping $200 to grease the entire ladder.
Sure.
It's based, those, and the ambulance as well, is based on engine hours, not miles.
I just wanted to deal with the 31,000. Looks like you're also talking about the ambulance stuff. You might as well just go into it. We'll just
Sure.
approve both of these at the same time.
So the
Ambulance
first
overtime and-
First one, ambulance overtime, that covers that one is the administration of the ambulance, so that's all of the licensing requirements, which every year we get inspected by the state, they renew our license. There's a ton of paperwork they want, administration. It includes, one of their requirements, every single call we do has to have 3 eyes look at it. So there's the supervisor, the person who wrote the report. There's a committee called Quality Control Committee that review every aspect of every ambulance report to make sure that treatment follows statewide protocols, that everything is filled out in that form. And then the third review is by our administrative assistant before it's sent to our billing company. She has a separate checklist of what she has to do. This covers that CQI committee who sits down and reviews. It's a committee of 3. They have to look at all, I think we did over 2,000 transports last year, and they have to look at every one of those run reports to make sure.
Who's this committee? Is this a state?
It's a committee of firefighters in the department.
Oh, in your department?
Right.
Okay.
And
So sort of like a check and balance to make sure.
talking with other communities, they hire a company to do that. They're paying about $18,000 to $20,000 for similar call volume.
So this is overtime to pay your in-house people to do
Right.
that work.
A lot of it is they do during their work day, but as we get closer to ambulance inspections, we have to make sure, normally we're about 30 days behind on that part, but as we get closer to the ambulance inspection, we have to make sure we're no more than 10 days behind, because that's what they want to see. And then the maintenance service agreement, we had a cardiac monitor that came out of manufacturer's warranty, and those are about $4,000 each for the annual maintenance plan on those. I'd missed it on the warranty. I thought I was off by a year. I thought it was a 5-year, it was a 4-year. So that amount wasn't requested in my original budget. And that's for them to come out 4 times a year because it's a medical device. They have to come out, they have to calibrate it, make sure it's functioning as it's designed to do. And then the last one, $1,000, is for repairs to vehicles. That one is another one. 2 unexpected breakdowns cost over $3,000. And the second ambulance, the 2010 ambulance, will need all 6 tires replaced prior to, or before the end of the fiscal year, and that is about $700 to $800 using state bid, so,
A piece?
total.
That's all?
Uh-huh.
For 6 tires?
No.
Really?
'Cause
Those
it's
big
a state
tires?
bid.
You see bid?
Wow.
We used to pay over $200 a piece, and this is the smaller Ford van style.
Can I get my
ambulance.
tires on state bid?
The bigger international, the newest ambulance, though the rear tires are about 2 1/4 a piece, and the fronts are about 185 a piece. But the smaller ambulances, the tires are
So
cheaper.
is this money for the tires, or you're gonna ask for that later?
This is, no, this is everything.
Okay.
Tires included.
Okay. Gentlemen, do you have any other questions? AP, Dan? Comments? Mayor, Melissa? Then I'll
I've
take
always
a...
felt very comfortable with the way you're handling.
Well, I'm encouraged by the fact
This is
that I was always upset about overtime in both police and fire. And if we get more staff, obviously, if we're able to put more staff, we have less overtime. And I know you have the part-time firefighters and everything, that helps. But I'm very encouraged to see this go down, even with the 6% increase. What you're saying is, even with that, it's lower than it was
Right.
3 years ago. So I'm encouraged by that. That's very good.
I do have, I guess, a couple of other questions. Next replacement ambulance on the schedule is
Due for delivery May timeframe.
May.
Oh, we already bought it.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
And we have an
So
engine
that's the-
being
that's
built.
what we have, so that should buy us another 3 to 5 years?
We're on a 4-year replacement
4
cycle for the
years, 4 years,
ambulances.
okay.
I think at some point we may need to look at, our oldest ambulance right now is a 2006. It's got 96,000 miles on it. The next oldest is a 2010 box, or 2010 chassis, but the box is from 2000. In 2010, there wasn't a lot left, a lot of money for capital.
Mhm.
So we put a new chassis
Chassis
under a
on the old.
10-year-old box just to try to, there's a bid.
Keep things going, right?
That ambulance has 94,000 miles on it. The newest one's a 2014, that has 72 or 73,000 miles on it. So
Because
right,
you always pick it first?
yeah.
Okay.
So-
I'm just trying to figure it out.
So the 4-year model has worked for a long time. When we used to have, I don't even know what that was called, Melissa, it wasn't even a revolving account, that ambulance replacement
Yeah,
account.
it was some kind of, yeah, it
There
was
was
a
an account.
revolving, yeah, it's so.
And we used to do a 3-year replacement back when an ambulance cost $60,000.
Now they cost what, a couple hundred?
They're about, I think this one's gonna be about $298, $299 for this ambulance. So at some point, we may have to get back looking at a 3-year replacement, which gives us our oldest ambulance at 9 years old. But for now, the 4-year replacement cycle with the oldest one being 12 years old still works.
As long as your maintenance for that older vehicle, that makes sense. I mean, if it's costing you too much to put it on the road, you might as well get a new one.
And we've been fortunate, the one that we have now, while it doesn't have a great trade-in value, there is a community, just like the one we got rid of 4 years ago, that is looking to purchase that from us.
It's sad that there's communities that are buying used ambulances, but okay.
Thank you for that. The other question I had to do with the new people coming on in terms of training, in terms of being people we can kind of look at. How's that schedule going? Because that does affect our overtime, of course.
So right now, we're waiting for when Deputy Chief Henneman was promoted, they left a vacancy. That is vacant, but it doesn't cost overtime because it's in fire prevention.
Mhm.
So right now, he's doing 2 roles, we're splitting fire prevention. The good thing is it's kind of saving me money because I have that salary, and I can use that towards,
Overtime.
God forbid, somebody else gets hurt.
Mhm.
Civil service is thinking March, April, their test results will be out for an exam that was given in November.
Do the part-timers get to get in there, or they have to be in that pool, civil service?
They're able to, well, our part-timers are civil service,
Okay,
which speeds up our hiring process.
but does they have an advantage over somebody from another city?
We don't look at outside the way we do it, that if you were a true traditional civil service list,
Mhm.
you would get a layoff list of every firefighter in the Commonwealth who's been laid off and never gone back to work.
And you have to use that list.
Then you would get a list of children whose parents died, as a police officer, firefighter, died in the line of duty. Then you get a list of veterans. Then you would get a residence list.
Oh, boy.
By Chief Croak making our call for civil service,
Mhm.
we do what's called a roster delegation. We only hire, if we didn't have a qualified candidate in our call force, then we could go the other process. But our call force, and it's simply notifying civil service we're hiring, here's the 3 names we're considering, and then we make the selection.
And you do that by interviews and everything?
It speeds up the process by about a month.
Well, like, it's also, they're in-house. They already
Right.
have some training of what East Hampton is.
We know what we're getting, there's no surprises
Yeah.
by hiring our call firefighters.
That's why I asked.
How many do we have?
We're down to 3, we're gonna be hiring 1, so we'll be down to 2. So hopefully, once I promote a captain, hire a firefighter, put that to bed, after July 1st, I can add a couple more to that pool.
Good, very good.
Move to approve.
Let's start with the 31,000. Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
7,000.
Move to approve.
Okay. These, put these on I will announce this Wednesday for a public hearing for the first meeting in March. Okay? I don't think there'll be any question, but you probably should come.
I'll be there.
Great, thank you. You have anything to say, Vice Mayor?
You have anything to say?
You think we're doing a good job here? Yeah?
You think she's gonna say any different to you?
Oh, you don't know.
Yeah.
Just ask
You
Nicole.
don't- yeah.
I was kinda hoping for that.
You think this mayor's mouthy? Wait, yeah, vice mayor's like fearless. Here, bud, don't you stand in front of me? I'll take
We
a
have to
picture.
change the charter now, JP. Wait, I bet, maybe close the meeting. We're just kidding around.
Your grandfather.
All in favor?
Aye.